So in this video we're going to be talking about lens corrections. There are two different aspects to this. One is remove chromatic aberration and the other one is enable profile corrections. Let's have a look at chromatic aberration first. For that we need to zoom in to the image. Okay, and you can see along the left edge here, you can see a blue fringe, and on this one over here on the right hand side you can see a red fringe. Now typically chromatic aberration will reveal itself on dark against bright areas. So it's not always just trees against skies, by the way. It could be leaves against water. It can happen anywhere basically. The poorer the quality of the lens, the more you're going to get chromatic aberration. But every lens pretty much suffers from it. And it's easily resolved because all you have to do is click remove chromatic aberration and it's gone. So my recommendation is that for every image you remove chromatic aberration. Just tick the box. It's of no consequence. Now, if it's not possible to remove chromatic aberration, you may have to go into the manual mode. Okay, and in here we have a couple of sliders, one for purple, one for green. Okay, now if we go on the green one and we move that slider to the right and we move the hue slider to the right as well to incorporate the blue, you can see how that's disappearing. Watch this edge of the tree over here. So as I bring this to the left, it's visible, and then bring it slightly to the right and it's removed. Ditto for the purple, which will include the red, so watch out for the red slider fringe there. Move that to the right and it removes it. Okay, now we can increase the amount, and that one, it needs a little bit more than the blue did, and it's gone. Okay, so we can have a look around, and that seems to be fairly successful. Now it is important to remove fringing because, you know, when you come to sharpen that fringe, not only is it visible, but it will affect the sharpening of your edges. So the manual tool is quite handy. Sometimes you'll have to use it, for example, if you're editing a JPEG that you've received from someone else and they haven't done that, so you can remove it after the event. But obviously the easiest way to do that is manually over here. The next aspect of the lens correction tools are to enable profile corrections. Now if we click on this, a few things are going to happen. Okay, firstly, the if we were to look at the histogram, the histogram would actually change. So let's just bring that down and go to lens correction. So if we click this off and on, see how the histogram is changing ever so slightly. Okay, so there are three things. One, it's affecting the light that's transmitted through the lens, and also there'll be some vignetting. So look at the corner over here, for example. As I click enable profile correction, it's removing that vignetting. And lastly, there's not much on this, but look over here as I click it on and off. There's some geometric corrections. So it's correcting the color as it comes through the lens. It's removing vignetting that or light fall off, in fact, that might be occurring with the lens. And it's also correcting geometry. Now, for me, these are three things that you do on a individual image basis. So for this one, the geometric corrections are minimal. But what I don't like is this has actually become lighter. I actually prefer the fact that this is more balanced with that side of the image. Okay, and in terms of the color, I don't really think that this has had too much of an impact. So for this particular image, I would probably elect not to use it. Now, the lens correction, profile correction, works by looking at the EXIF data in the raw file, and it basically finds the lens that you have and applies the corrections accordingly. Sometimes it won't find the lens. Maybe you've got a very old film camera, or you've got you've been shooting film actually, and you've scanned it in, so you don't have the original camera information. You might be using a tilt and shift lens that won't be recorded here. There are a number of reasons why you may not have the lens recorded here. So you can go into manual, and on manual you've got this tool here where you can correct the geometry. Okay, it can be quite severe, as you can see. Okay, but you can do a little bit of correction there. And also down here you can change the vignetting. Now the midpoint is basically, if we put this, let's bring that right down. The midpoint is basically saying how far out from the middle should I start my vignetting. So if it's 0, it's the minimal amount, and 100 is the full amount. So you just need to work on this one. So if we look at this particular lens, I think the automatic program made it too light, but if I came in here and did it manually, it actually, I can retain that little bit of vignetting there, and I could possibly bring in the midpoint a bit there. So that's how you can correct lens geometry and fade off, fall off manually. But normally you can just click the 2 boxes and it does the job for you.